gonna be very, very quiet because well, it's late at night. The video is very, well, what can I say? I haven't shaved in a while. Yeah, it's been a long while since I've shaved. I could get some headphones, but we'll raw dog it. It's alright. I haven't made a video public in probably 4 weeks. Recently, I made a few reflections, but not public. And I just wanted to make like a reflection. I don't want to be too loud because I don't want to draw attention. Oops. That's so sad, I can't zoom out. The thing I want to emphasize in this reflection is, well, I suppose I'll start at the beginning, roughly. Last weekend was a long weekend, so as a result, I started my weekend basically on Thursday and finished it on Monday. So I had practically 4 days off. I had a lot of work to complete over that time period, and I didn't complete it. And as a result, I had incomplete work that I didn't finish. And, well, today is Tuesday, and I felt the consequences of neglect, of neglecting a responsibility for that long. Today has just been, yeah, it's been a day coming back up. When you spend 4 days, like basically just having free time, you just waste it. Don't get me wrong, I used it meaningfully, but it wasn't. Yeah, I went out on multiple walks. I spoke with my sister, and I went out, but I didn't use it to the fullness of my capacity because I didn't work. I didn't work because I was scared to work, or at least I avoided it. I avoided work. Whenever I thought about or began to think about completing a work assignment, I chucked it aside to the back of my mind to leave it to be completed later. And I did that for the whole weekend. And now, while I have school, things are due, and I either give up or I catch up. And when you give up for so long, it can just be hard to get back up again. But thankfully today was a good day. Now, albeit it wasn't perfect, I definitely could have spent my time more effectively, more efficiently. I could have done more work. But the goal of today was never to be perfect, it was to scratch the surface. And I did that very well, I would say. I finished a worksheet and I started a separate work assignment. I still have a lot to do, a lot to go, but the important thing is you have to start somewhere. And this is where I choose to start, because I would rather start than to do nothing, than to just give up. Because that's far worse than anything else. Because I don't want to wake up Monday morning next week feeling this way, the way I felt this morning. Feeling unhappy, feeling lost, feeling deprived, feeling a strong sense of unhappiness. It's a terrible feeling because you had all the time in the world to do what you wanted to do, and you avoided it. And not just once, not just twice, but countless times, over and over again. That's what hurts. The fact that there's a repetition. But you have to break the cycle. That's what I intend to do now. Break the cycle. I've attempted it on many occasions in the past, and, well, I didn't necessarily succeed, but I did get somewhere. And if I don't succeed today, which I don't want to have on my mind, I want to have confidence that I can change. But if I don't, it doesn't matter because I must come back. Failure does not mean the fall, it means to give up. And I've fallen many, many times, but I've never failed. Which is nice to think about. I myself am not a failure because although I did give up on certain occasions, I never truly gave up. Because if I gave up, I wouldn't be here now, making this reflection. Today was a good day. I woke up. Well, I'll tell you, I probably had a total of 2 hours of sleep yesterday. I was just too nervous to work, too nervous to do an all-nighter, too nervous to sleep. I just watched TikTok, and I woke up at 6 a.m. and got out of bed. And when I woke up, I was like, crap, I did it again. But it's not just a crap, it's anger, it's fear, it's everything all at once. It feels horrible. It feels absolutely horrible to realize that you made the mistake again, that you lost again, and that it wasn't anything external. It was you that chose to fail. That's what hurts. The fact that you chose it each and every time. But I understand that this is a cycle. So I will change. I will change. I went on a walk today because trying again to muster the courage to do something as simple as working on an assignment or a lot of assignments. It's embarrassing, but it's my situation. But when I went for on my walk with my dog, I began thinking of how much of a privilege this all is. I began chanting this mantra in my mind. It went along the phrase, glorious is it to walk. Glorious is it to see. Glorious is it to hear. Glorious is it to sleep on the bed. Glorious is it to eat a meal. Glorious is it to work. especially work. Many people in this world do not have the privilege to choose how they work. Many people in this world do not have the privilege to access education. Many people yearn for an education, yearn to be intelligent, yearn to support their family, but can't because their circumstances prohibit them. And I look at myself and I don't have that issue. I'm born into a first world country. I was lucky enough to get a scholarship that has allowed me to attend a very good, decent education. And yet, I feel lost. I feel stuck. I'm not using it to the best of my ability. I'm not learning to the best of my ability. I'm kind of just cruising through my education as if it isn't a privilege. Because there are so many people that yearn to have what I have, to be in the position where I am, to learn or to have the opportunity to receive the qualifications that I can receive. I spoke to this woman not too long ago. I was speaking to her about this very problem, about bad habits, about not being good enough for myself, about always giving up. And she told me multiple things. She spoke about how, in order to live, you must have a pillar of strength. This can be a role model, your parents, your religion, or even yourself. And among that, you must also appreciate who you are. And when she was talking about being appreciative, she told me about her sister who sadly has cancer. And she said to me that she was complaining to her sister. I think it was on a Sunday. She was complaining to her sister about how she had to go to work the day after. Complaining about how she has a week of work ahead of her before her next weekend. And the sister who has cancer and is terminally ill said to her, "How lucky are you to work? How lucky." She said to me, "Wow." Like her eyes were kind of just wide when she said that. She said, "I'm lucky to work." Isn't that weird? To think that work is a privilege, not a chore, not something that you have to do, but actually something that many people desire. How crazy is that? Yeah. Everything in life is a privilege. Even the bad. Even the bad, especially the bad. But, yeah. Glorious is it to live. It's a good mantra. Because it reminds you that every aspect of your life is not an entitlement. Rather, it is a complete gift, a privilege. The books that I have, the pens and the pencils and the desk that I have, and the light and the computer and the crucifix and everything that is in this room, even the room itself, is a privilege. And furthermore, it's lended, not owned. Because this pen or any other item that I have, even my own body, I don't take when I'm dead. So yeah, everything is temporary in this life. And I think about all that and I beg myself to change, to be better. That's why I make these reflections. They keep my mind straight, if that makes sense. It straightens me out. That's a better way of saying it. I beg myself to change, but a week later, the hottest new video game might come out, and it might distract me from who I want to be. And it might be a while before I discover this desire to be a man, to be better. So the reflections kind of serve as a reminder at the end of each day of my true purpose, of who I actually want to be. And to remind me that I am actively pursuing it. And to receive feedback as well. It's nice knowing that people listen. But yeah. I guess to conclude, life is a gift by all means. But within that, life is temporary. Everything has a clock. And so, you only really get to live on this earth for a while. And then that's it. Maybe, heaven is real. Or maybe it isn't. I have reason to believe that Jesus is God, but I'm not certain. And that could mean that life is just like that. But that's a topic for another reflection. But for now, I would like to conclude on the fact that change is possible, that life is not a race against anyone else but the version of you of the day before. You're only competing against yourself. So it doesn't matter how other people are performing. Because in the end, we're all dust. Why stress yourself out about someone else's performance? Sure, it may indicate your own intellect, but what if it doesn't? What if that person is smart not because they're talented, but because they spent a majority of their adolescence perfecting their craft, whereas you may not have, not of your own fault, but just by the circumstances of your childhood. That doesn't mean that you give up, or that you should seek to compare yourself to others. Rather, it should empower you to be motivated to disconnect yourself from the habit of comparing yourself to others and just focusing on how you can be better. Because the moment you disconnect from how others see you and focus purely on how you see yourself and how God sees you, then you can truly be free, at least to an extent. But yeah, You're only racing against yourself. So make it a hell of a race. That's it.